Interactions with parents happen in very particular places and spaces, most notably in telephone calls, parents' evenings, and in stolen moments at the school gates. The nature of these interactions, and the context which surround them, make, I would suggest, for a somewhat claustrophobic relationship, coloured by the terseness of purpose, limitation of time, and inequality of power and mutual distrust that they all too often breed. In this session, I'd like to take the opportunity to step back from these claustrophobic relationships and to give them a little breathing space. Doing so may enable us to better perceive some of the complications involved, and to reconstruct practice and provision in interesting ways. Over the course of this short podcast, I'll introduce you to ecology theory, as first proposed by Uri Brofenbrenner, and I'll suggest that this framework is useful in gaining the analytic purchase necessary to deconstruct these relationships. The core idea of ecology theory is that we can never fully understand behaviours or interactions in isolation. We must consider the complex systems of networks and contexts which surround them. It draws its inspiration from biology, and from the notion that understanding the behaviour of any species necessitates an understanding of its interaction with others. In order to facilitate this analysis, Brofenbrenner suggests we consider a series of increasingly broad systems of contexts. At the most simple is the microsystem, the most immediate context we inhabit: the school, the workplace, the home, the religious site, the neighbourhood, and so on. At this level, these contexts are treated as separate and distinct, with their own particular cultures and values. The elements of the microsystem, however, do influence each other. Experiences at work, for instance, have a bearing on the home, and this interconnectivity makes up the mesosystem. Beyond this is the exosystem, and this comprises all of the contexts which the individual does not directly inhabit, but which still influence their behaviour and interactions. The most obvious of these might be the spouse's workplace. A grander context still is found in the macrosystem, which might be considered akin to culture, the expectations, beliefs, and values of the overall society which the individual inhabits, but also other broader factors, such as the economic realities which surround the individual's life. Finally, the chronosystem situates the individual in an historical context, both in terms of personal histories, divorces, childhood experiences, and so on, and in grander cultural shifts. For instance, the changes in the way that we perceive sexualities. The usefulness of this framework might be illustrated in reference to the bad parent, often one who fails to have an obvious involvement with school life. Here, analysis of the mesosystem might suggest a clash of cultures between home and school, or a lack of confidence amongst parents to engage with the languages and rituals of school life. Equally, it might reveal that the timetables and routines of the school might not fit with their particular work shift, or, at the level of the exosystem, those of their partner. More broadly, analysis of the macrosystem might consider the nature of society's cultural and legal construction of the good parent, and how this accidentally also defines the bad parent. Finally, analysis might examine the chronosystem, either in terms of that parent's own experience of education and how that has shaped their interaction with that of their child, or in terms of shifting legal frameworks which surround them, something we'll explore further in the second podcast. And of course, we've applied the analysis here to the parent. A similar process might be applied to us as teachers too. So I'd like to throw this over to you as an analytic device. Try playing with it as a way of better understanding the complications of your particular experiences with parents in your context.